The number of songs I've come to know just through Instagram Reels is honestly mind blowing at this point. And I guess feeding the algorithm with likes and saves so that it knows what I like, I guess that helps too. But the catch is that I can only remember about 15 or 20 seconds of the song that trends and evolves into this massive trend. Of course, I if I like a song, I go to YouTube or Spotify and check the whole song out, but my brain seems to pay attention to only the catchiest segment of that song and I lose interest for the rest of the song. The past few months, Premika ne pyaar se was everywhere to be found. I guess it's still being used. And the same was the case with Catchiest and so many other songs. See that everything is getting shorter and shorter. That everything is getting shorter and shorter, I guess it's very telling of the times. Run times of movies are shorter, length of most songs are shorter, and now we're getting a hyper concentrated version of art with reelification, where what defines a song is the 10 to 15 seconds worth of catchy segment from that song. I know that your next immediate thought is about the declining attention span, but did you know that the declining attention span too is apparently just a myth? Namaste, namaskaram, wherever you are. This is your host Pavana, and you are listening to Culture Speak. I used to believe in the average attention span of a human being 8 seconds and that it's apparently less than that of a goldfish for the longest time. I think I have cited that information too in various instances. But quite recently, I learned that this is just a myth, and apparently, it's even impossible to calculate something like an attention span. Now, every article, video, and podcast episode that talks about a shortened attention span is actually referring to a 2015 study that was commissioned by Microsoft and then later on discussed in Times Magazine. Famously, it stated that our attention span is less than that of a goldfish. I'd like to think of this too as a piece of research that went viral, and it's quite funny and ironic how the research that went viral too had the qualities of any content that trends on the internet these days. It's short, it has a hook, and it evokes strong emotions, shock in this case. However, the figure that everyone talks about, about our shrinking attention span, it did not actually come from Microsoft's research. Of course, yes, it appears in the report, but it appears with a citation for another source called Statistic Brain. Now, I did not find out about this on my own. I did not go into this rabbit hole of research and come up with this brand new information and revelation. I was reading a few articles reviewing and critiquing Microsoft research, and this is how I came to know about this. Anyway, back to our topic. Now, psychologists say that it's hard to boil down attention span to a hard number like the 8 seconds that all of the articles talked about because attention spans are task dependent. Now, how does this tie in with the reelification of music? The question we need to ask is this. If the average attention span being a particular number is not true at all and that it's quite difficult to calculate attention spans at all, it becomes clear that it's not a matter of attention span but a matter of effort. So I'd like to ask you a question. Are our attention spans getting shorter, or have we been put in a world teeming with distractions that we're unable to find the time to focus on things that we used to enjoy? Are our attention spans getting shorter, or are we getting lazier by the minute because we are so used to having fully baked content fed to us? There's nothing left to do, no interpretation, no extra imagining or understanding, and we end up as a society that produces little to no original thoughts. Earlier back in the days, after watching a movie, we'd have a discussion about it with friends and families. But now, after watching a movie, somehow the algorithm figures out that I have watched the movie And my section of YouTube Shorts and Instagram Reels immediately shows me reviews of the movie that I just watched. So I literally have nothing left to do over there. I don't have the time to reflect on the movie I watched. I don't have the time to come up with opinions by myself before I'm able to do any of that. I am being shown all of these reviews for this particular movie I watched, and by then I am conditioned to believe in a particular standpoint, and my original feelings are lost and forgotten at that point. Whatever happens to original thoughts in this society? I feel like nobody has original thoughts these days. I mean, even take this episode for an example. Even the reelification of music too has been analyzed, but I'm trying my best to bring my own perspectives to the table. But I'm sure that there are some insights or perspectives very similar to mine which have already been published, but which I'm unaware of. It's quite difficult to, have original thoughts these days, but I guess that's an episode for another day. So, coming back to realification of songs, the catchiest segments of songs are actively promoted by the producers too. Take, for instance, the case of Kesariya Tera from Brahmastra. The catchiest section of the song was released as a 30-second teaser, and when the full song dropped, it was a major letdown for many people. What does this show us? This shows that the music industry is making music for short form video formats. Music is being made with Reels and TikTok in mind. Now, a lot of people say that this is not overwhelmingly the case, and that several people have been making music for music's sake, and that they have been growing organically. And they also use the example of old songs going viral. But then again, even with old songs, the catchiest segments are the ones getting viral. The full song doesn't get the attention. Songs are being made keeping in mind the qualities that can make it viral. Songs are being made keeping in mind the algorithm. The audience is the algorithm now. So, even in my desperate attempt to market this podcast, the tips I get from everywhere is to keep the algorithm in mind. And yes, it makes sense because the algorithm is the collective voice of the audience. But to really understand the realification of music and its significance, and don't worry, we'll come back to the conversation about algorithm in a while. To really understand the realification of music and its significance, we need to take a short trip back to the ancient eras and see how art used to function then. Back in the day, when artists got hired to create something, it was usually a wealthy patron calling the shots. They'd basically tell the artist what they wanted, what the painting should be about, what materials to use, and sometimes even who should be in it. So artists did not have much of a say in what they were creating. Back in the old days, people didn't really think of artists as these independent geniuses. They were more like skilled workers, almost like craftsmen, just doing what they were told by their patrons. But then along came the Renaissance, and suddenly they started aiming higher. They wanted to be seen as more than just painters or sculptors. They wanted to be recognized as thinkers and innovators. And over time, they managed to raise their status to a whole new level. Now, jumping ahead to today, social media has become a game changer in the art world. It's like this massive amplifier, that lets artists share their work with people all around the world in an instant. Suddenly anyone with an internet connection can discover and appreciate art like never before. But it's not that easy to be visible in an ocean of artists. Nowadays, artists are not just trying to please one rich patron, they are trying to grab the attention of the algorithm, also known as millions of people online. And that's no small feat. With so many eyes scrolling through endless feeds, artists can feel pressured to blend in with the crowd. So it's understandable why the industry had been making this shift to making songs which have this very catchy, snackable 30-second segment, and the rest of the song turns out to be a major letdown for many people, like the case was with Kesariya Tera. Not everyone hated the song. Several people enjoyed the full song. I did not find the song to be disappointing at all. I enjoyed the song from start to finish, but there are a lot of people who thought that the full song was a letdown compared to the section that went viral. So the hypothesis that people make here is that the industry, the producers, dedicate all of their energy and attention into perfecting, into optimizing this 30-second catchy segment, and then the effort and the energy kind of reduces for the rest of the song. So it's kind of understandable when you try to understand how the value of art and how we perceive art has changed in this world. It it kind of becomes easier to understand the situation of artists when we realize how competitive the world is today, when we realize how difficult it is to get visibility, when we realize how difficult it's to make a living by being authentic. People say that just be authentic and you'll get your chance, but many people have to wait years and years until they get their chance. So you cannot really blame someone for catering to the needs of the algorithm so that they stand out. Instead of blaming the artists, or instead of blaming producers who have been making the shift, or just trying to survive in an ever changing musical landscape, we should try to understand the bigger issue at hand here. And that is how quickly and radically our culture is undergoing change. Now, in this digital age, the quest for popularity can sometimes overshadow the true essence of artistry. They may find themselves more focused on crafting content that's sure to rack up likes, shares, and followers rather than staying true to their own creative vision. Now, this chase of virality can lead to an overflow of what do you call it, cookie cutter content that lacks depth and authenticity that makes art truly meaningful. The very essence of artistry, like I mentioned earlier, is compromised in the pursuit of online recognition. Social media has definitely changed how we perceive music, how we perceive any form of art for that matter. It has changed how we consume and share art. But, along with its many benefits, we have to acknowledge that it has brought some serious challenges for artists. So, striking a balance between catering to the ever changing demands of the algorithms and staying true to one's artistic vision is going to be an ongoing battle for creatives in today's digital world. Reelification is just one aspect of a bigger problem, and the bigger problem that I've identified is that collectively we are leaning into being lazier. We're prioritizing convenience and minimal effort at an elemental level, and research actually proves this. Our brains actually want to be lazy in an attempt to conserve energy. But yeah, to combat all of this, I hope you force your brain to do some work. Be it in the form of not using ChatGPT to draft a single message, even if it's in the form of avoiding skimming through music, by avoiding speed reading, by avoiding even fast forwarding the already short Instagram reels. I do that sometimes. All of these micro behaviors have this cumulative effect, and this is why we need to be very, very, very mindful. Also a reminder for the artists and creatives out there. It's fine if your art is imperfect, it's fine if it's slow and not relatable. Part of what makes art beautiful is how individualistic yet telling of humanity it is. It reflects your painfully unique experiences, and that's beautiful. You don't need to alter it just so the algorithm takes you up. Because when you do that, don't you think your art dies a little in the constant washing over it? I know that this is not going to help you make a career out of art, and that sometimes you might have to cater to the algorithm to be visible and to eventually make a living out of it. But I hope that you're able to find a strategic balance where you're able to stay true to your creative vision while also strategically using your social media platform to get yourself more visibility. I am not an expert. This is just my 2 cents of philosophizing about the topic. Anyway, think about it. But that wraps up another episode of Culture Speak. I hope you're finding value in this podcast series. I'll see you next time. Goodbye. A rich man's world. I have turned